So what if a core concept you learned in neuroscience class, something printed in pretty much every single textbook, was just wrong? Today, we're going to dive into a groundbreaking study that completely challenges a long-held belief about how the human brain adapts to one of the most drastic changes you can imagine, losing a limb. Okay, so let's get into this. Deep inside your brain, you have this incredibly detailed, living map of your entire body. It's called the primary somatosensory cortex. And every part of you, literally from your fingertips to your toes, has its own dedicated patch of neural real estate right here, and it's processing every single touch, temperature, and sensation you feel. For decades, the textbook story was super simple, and it made a lot of sense. If a person lost, say, a hand, the brain, being this incredibly adaptable organ, wouldn't just let that prime real estate go to waste. The theory was that the neighboring brain regions, like the part that processes feelings from your lips, would just expand and take over that now silent hand area. It was the poster child for brain reorganization.
But see, this really neat theory always had this kind of ghost in the machine, a persistent puzzle that it could never ever fully explain. And that puzzle was the very real and often incredibly vivid experience of a phantom limb.
And what makes this quote so incredibly powerful is who's saying it. That's Hunter Schoen, and he wasn't just a neuroscientist on the research team, he's also an amputee himself. His experience, and the experience of so many others, describe these unbelievably vivid, detailed sensations, like moving individual fingers on a hand that just wasn't there anymore.
And this is where we get to the central contradiction, right? How can someone feel individual fingers if the part of the brain that's responsible for them has supposedly been taken over by the lips? It just doesn't add up. And this is the exact question that drove a team of researchers to figure out if, maybe, just maybe, the textbooks had it all wrong. So to finally solve this puzzle, a team designed a truly groundbreaking experiment. And what made it so special was that for the first time in history, they were in the right place at exactly the right time. The real power of this study comes down to its timing. See, all the previous research had looked at the brains of amputees years after the fact, trying to kind of piece together what happened in the past. But this team, they got the priceless before picture. They mapped the brain activity of individuals before a scheduled amputation, which let them make a direct comparison. And the way they did it was so meticulous. First, they used fMRI scans to map the participants' brains while they did things like tap their fingers or purse their lips, and this created a super detailed baseline map. Then, after the surgery, the participants came back to the scanner and were asked to tap with their phantom fingers. The researchers then kept repeating these scans for up to 5 years to track any and all changes. So what happened when they compared those before and after maps? Well, the result wasn't just an update to the old theory. It was a complete demolition.
The results were a complete 180 from what everyone expected. While the old theory predicted the lip area would just move in and take over the hand region, the scans showed the exact opposite. The hand area and the lip area stayed completely separate and totally stable. The brain's original map was still there, completely intact.
And get this stability wasn't just a short-term thing. Nope. The researchers followed up for 5 years. Even after all that time, when a participant moved their phantom fingers, the exact same part of the brain lit up, the original hand area. The map hadn't been overwritten at all. It was perfectly preserved.
The study's senior author, Tamar Makin, she just captured the weight of this perfectly. Her words really highlight a direct challenge to what we thought was foundational knowledge. It's some of the most decisive evidence yet that the brain's body map stays remarkably stable. A powerful reminder to never take anything for granted in science, right?
So, a major neuroscience textbook needs a rewrite. Big deal for scientists, but why does this matter outside of a classroom? Well, the real-world implications of this discovery are actually enormous. Knowing the brain's original wiring is still there, well, that changes everything. It means we can design smarter prosthetic devices that can tap directly into those preserved signals for way more intuitive control. This same knowledge opens up totally new strategies for treating phantom limb pain, which is all tied up in that preserved map. And ultimately, it offers new hope for maybe one day restoring sensation, because we now know the brain's hardware is still there, just waiting for an input. So this radical new evidence shows us that the brain's map of the body is surprisingly, almost stubbornly stable, and it leaves us with this really fascinating final thought.
If a concept this fundamental to how we understand the brain could be completely upended, what other facts that we just take for granted today are just waiting for the right experiment to come along and change everything we think we know?